Democratic side, and we can't just like fulfill the wishes of the Republicans. And there's so many people that are saying that, like, the 2026 is done now and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like, we have to look at the benefits and look at like the positives going forward. People are having their SNAP benefits, which are the victims in this.
Yep.
They are. We got Trump to go to court to actually argue that they shouldn't have to pay any SNAP benefits to
Yes.
Americans when they're literally going hungry. On Sunday, he was literally going and figuring out ways in order to undo some of the benefits that states were giving to people. I feel like we have to look at the benefit, the positives of it. There's no way that the omnibus bill was going to be repealed through some, budget bill. It's just, I think people had too high of hopes.
That was one of the things we pointed out during no, as of now that I'm aware of, there hasn't been a single shutdown where the side that was requesting something got even a genuine middle of the road concession for what it was that they were requesting. And this is a perfect example. You could say, well, the Dems got an up or down vote on ACA. Yeah, except that they're going to lose that vote. And then even if they win, it's going to be. But I think you bring up an excellent point, which is Trump looks really bad for the things he's done. The problem is the people that need to see that watch Fox News, and they're not putting up. But I mean, yeah, Trump literally went to court to get it so that the states couldn't take care of their own citizens. If the states said, we will make up the difference, which a number of states said, they were not permitted to do. What kind of fucking scumbag
exactly
do you have to be to say, I'm not going to let the states feed their own people?
Exactly. In an election year about affordability.
This is a one of those kind of, I guess, pithy, not exactly well thought out or nuanced sayings, kind of like the ones I throw away about gun control. Like, I carry a gun because cops are too heavy and generally don't like to be carried. But it's said, it's meant to be pithy. It's meant to be kind of what is the term I'm looking for? Where it's
contrite.
Yeah, contrite. There we go. Thank you. It's meant to be that way, but it's also meant to make you kind of think about something. And I've been seeing one go around in the more libertarian circles that I keep an eyeball on. And it's, if you allow the government to feed you, you're allowing the government to starve you.
Ooh.
The ability to starve you. If you're going to depend upon the government, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. If you depend upon the government to feed you, you're allowing the government to have the ability to starve you. So it's kind of a one of those contrite sayings where it's like, okay, well, this gets a little bit more. You really should look at this a little bit more. But it's also specifically there to make you think about the issues too. It's like if you're going to have people dependent upon the government for their food, you're putting those people directly under the power of the government to also be able to starve them.
All right, so we've had Blonde Bombshell. Are we still going to talk about long COVID? Actually, yes, we are. We're going to get to that.
We swear we're going to get there.
This has been a great discussion, and I've been really enjoying it. Also says Dr. Greg is dreamy. We are going to stop raising the shield on guests that look better than I do, which should probably be just about every guest we have on.
You haven't aged a day, dude. It's been
He's so nice.
I've been hanging out for 4 years now, dude. You're looking great.
This is why he has to come on. This is why we always bring him on. He's just $2. Sinister Porpoise. Barbie is a better reporter than Levitt. Yes, I couldn't agree more. Isn't it transparent that we held this meeting that I won't tell you about because it was in the Situation Room between a congresswoman and every member of the Executive Intelligence Committee? I told you it happened. Isn't that transparency? Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody have any final thoughts before we actually talk about the topic?
It's going to be interesting. That's all I can say. Otherwise,
we're
going to get bogged down in another 20 minutes of conversation.
I think there's like a way that Democrats just constantly I think what happens because there's not a lot of leadership in the Democratic Party, that there's basically a lot of people with one foot out the door, and then they're looking for an excuse to not get involved. And like genuinely, if you are frustrated with how the Democrats acted or what's going on, guys, remember like they did really well on Tuesday in an actual election that actually means something, right? So like use your frustration, funnel your anger, which is totally justified, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't. And this isn't copium, guys. This is like changing your perspective and engaging into the election in 2026 now. Like, who is your representative that's running? Who's your city council member that's up for a reelection? Can you get involved in something? Like, engage into the system. Don't just spin your wheels and throw your hands up, but actually try to get involved. So I actually, because of like Tuesday's election, I'm like putting my hat in the ring for, I think San Diego has there's 2 openings on the climate action board. So I'm going to try to involve
Very
myself
nice.
there. So there's lots of boards and commissions. There's non-electoral, open seats that you can just basically apply for. You can contact your city council member, say that your background or what it is, and there's probably dozens if you live near a major city. So and they're open, and nobody applies for this stuff, so it's not like a really hot problem to get in.
Well, Roe proved that getting those seats that everyone thinks aren't important ends up being important if you get
Hmm.
enough of them.
Yeah, and gun control
That's
too. That's like a thing when the last, people look for that Keller 2008, but it's actually ALEC and all the state legislation that really open carried law throughout the entire United States and brought open carry states, and it was like 1998 was like 2 states, and then now open carry is like over 20 or something now, and that was before Keller. So you just got to engage, man. You got to get involved, and that's what how we actually start to change things and actually get accountability and representation in our government.
all right. Chester, $2. Sub for the eye candy, stay for Nick's rants. Well, I will take that. Thank you so much. Thank you for your continued support, Chester. We really do appreciate it. And enjoy the awkwardness in chat, yes. All right. So, there's going to be a lot obviously going on over next week. If you haven't liked, subscribed, and joined us on our Discord, where we follow all of this and the breaking news that we cover, often you'll find, and if you look at any of our shows, check the timestamps, you will see we often break the news before ABC, CNN, CBS, ABC, any of the majors. We beat Reuters and AP from time to time. They're tough to beat, but we do it. So I hope you'll check us out and see what we do, and we're going to stay on this because this is extraordinarily important. One of the interesting stories that has not been talked about a lot, aside from the fact that the CDC doesn't exist anymore, which I thought might be interesting to Dr. Greg,
True.
um, is that the mortality rates from COVID have gone down as more people have a natural immunity, and as the vaccine goes, presumably people get it yearly. This year, the government will not be providing one. But that notwithstanding, the mortality rates are still higher. People are dying more from what I've read of other illnesses, but those mortality rates, heart attacks, so on and so forth, are higher for people who have had COVID. So, Dr. Greg, I wanted to bring you on and talk about that and see if you had any insight or could talk to us about those mortality rates and other mortality factors, and especially some of them in our environment that are causing infertility and other issues.
Yeah, sure, man. I mean, yeah, thanks for having me on. I think the big thing is that SARS-CoV-2 causes COVID-19. So SARS-CoV-2 is the virus and COVID-19 is the disease, just like HIV and AIDS. So HIV doesn't always cause AIDS now, and we've created antiviral drugs to stymie HIV, and we have antiviral drugs and vaccines now to help stymie SARS-CoV-2. and maybe people aren't dying of COVID-19 at the rates that we were dying during the heat of the pandemic, but it's still there. It's still a pandemic technically, and HIV is still a pandemic. If you didn't know that, so
I did
definition of a
not.
pandemic is basically the pan. So you can have an epi or a pandemic. Epidemic is like a regional thing, and pandemic is global. So if you're the viruses are changing genes and recombining their genomes with species and or strains that are all across the globe, then it's a pandemic. And basically, what that means is that you know COVID is still having an impact for people. It's causing things called long COVID now. So honestly, the researcher to follow if you want to is called Iwasaki. She's a researcher out of Yale. She is amazing and does all the preeminent long COVID research. Basically, so our understanding of long COVID has changed recently. So it's like not just chronic fatigue, but it's actually a lot of things. So it encompasses like vertigo. I've actually had someone, two people actually, that came into my stream trolling me. Oh, you still care about COVID? You still care about, so, whoa, that's so weird. And then I'm like, yeah, dude, it's crazy. Long COVID causes vertigo. And he's like, what? What do you mean? And I'm like, yeah, dude, like you can just, if you're sick, if you just like stand up, you could feel sick and sick to your stomach, like you're on a boat or something. And he was like, man, that's been happening to me for years. That's crazy. And I was like, yeah, dude, yeah, like that. And so he literally came to the realization while he was trying to troll me on TikTok that he was a long COVID sufferer himself because, he
Yeah.
thought that the, long COVID was, from the vaccine or whatever. And so there you go. So we're talking, basically long COVID is a neurodegenerative disorder. So we're talking about anything with the mind. So tremors is really common. So you basically tremors are you can feel like your hands are shaking, but then to the third person they're completely still. So you can have stuff like that. You can have seizures, and you can have loss of hearing, loss of taste. There's just a lot of things that are associated with it. And we're still understanding this thing. Long COVID is something that happens to about 10 to 15% of people that have developed COVID symptoms. And we've also learned that it's also asymptomatic cases. So asymptomatic means that you don't have the symptoms of COVID. So that means that you have a SARS-CoV-2 positive, right? You have the virus in your system, but you haven't developed COVID symptoms. That's the asymptomatic. And that you can still have it. So what happens is basically SARS-CoV-2 can infest your organs, and then you'll be negative, right? Because maybe it's like for men, for example, you can have your testes be a source of long COVID. So they can literally the virus can infect your testes and just constantly be there, and you can't cure the virus. You can't purge it from your system, and since the virus isn't like in your throat, you're not going to have any type of COVID test, the antibody test. So
Now,
it's
is that what I've heard is that's because basically your immune system will not attack the testes.
it's just you're basically unable to purge the SARS-CoV-2 from your system. The virus is a
Okay.
latent infection. Yeah, it's just not
Okay.
able to kill it in whatever way.
Yeah.
Um, so it's yeah, it's bad, man. I mean, it genuinely is. I mean, it's something that I mean, considering how many people were infected because of the pandemic, we are, it's a really high amount of people that probably have long COVID that don't know about it.
And so it's also then people who are asymptomatic who have never had symptoms, think
Mhm.
they've never had um, SARS, SARS-2, and then can infect loads of people
Yeah.
because they in fact do have it, and also ones who it's actually also a sexually transmitted disease and can be transmitted by people who would test negative by most tests
hmm
and yet still carry it in the testes. Is that
I don't know if
reasonably
it's in
accurate?
the sputum, but I don't know if that's the case. But
Okay.
it would be. That's a good question. I don't think so. I'm not 100% sure, but but yeah, um, it's it's just basically the organ gets infected because there's a bunch of ACE2 transmit like to ACE2 is the handle that it uses in order to infect the cells, and ACE2 is everywhere in the body. So it's just really unfortunate, but um, so yeah, we're just figuring it out, and yeah, it's like COVID deaths. So the deaths from COVID are down. Like last year, we're talking about like 40,000 people died. This year, it was a little bit lower, around like 12,000 so far. So it's not as bad, which is good, but we still have a lot of cases. The flu is especially bad this year. Actually, the flu, like a lot of young kids are dying because of the flu. So much so that even the CDC is recommending the flu shot for everyone 6 months and above. And on top of that, we have a measles outbreak that's happening basically in like 45 states in the United States. It's pretty wild. The biggest one
Jesus.
is in Texas with over 800 cases. The one that I'm following right now on my channel is like the South Carolina one. They're putting out a great epidemiologist is actually putting out stuff every week, and really good work. So yeah, that's
And in Canada, they've got a measles outbreak in Canada too for over a year now.
oh wow, really? I didn't know that. I wonder how many cases they
Yeah.
have. Canada measles case. Yeah,
You just happened to mention that, and I was like, oh, I just saw that story flash through one of my timeline videos on one of the social medias,
oh wow, yeah,
where
you're
it
right.
it it just broke over a year uh, measles outbreak in Canada,
That's a
and
lot.
so
Wow.
they were removed from the list of countries that had eradicated it.
That's really bad, dude. I mean, they have 5,000 cases in Canada, um, 2,300 in Ontario. Um, that's really high. That's really bad. Oh my gosh. Yeah, guys, measles is one of the most infectious, if not the most infectious disease that we know of in science. We're talking about an R naught anywhere between 12 and 18. And an R naught value is basically how many positive cases you can expect from one positive case. So
Jesus.
yeah, so in comparison, SARS-CoV-2 is anywhere between like a 1 and a 3. So it's just and it's partly because measles can literally stay in the air for hours after a positive person is left. So it takes an incredible amount of epidemiology in order to contact trace and to quarantine people. It looks like they did a really good job of that in South Carolina, so that it kind of stymied the outbreak. They were looking at maybe over 100 kids that might be positive, and it's less than that. So yeah, it's good.
Get
Well,
your
let me ask you.
MMR.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you a question since RFK Jr. is the head of the CDC.
Mhm.
Have you ever heard of a thing called a vaccine? And if so, would you recommend that people get this thing? And where can they get them if their country, like the United States, is starting to become paranoid about them?
Yeah, so the CDC's removing the recommendation for some, so the insurance companies are not covering them as widely, so it's increasing the cost. So what you need to do is go to your physician and ask for them. And guys, like honestly, the MMR is a good thing to check for. Because you basically check if you have the antibodies in your body still through a thing called a titer. So they take your blood and then they check and see and react it with little pieces of viruses and see how well your blood does. So if your blood titer is really low, then it's a good idea to get a booster. And if you and some people actually don't develop like a vaccine robust response to the vaccine, so that's actually why they increased it. So people in younger, basically my generation, and like if you're less than 30 years old, basically you probably have a 2-shot MMR, but the the newest one is actually a 2-shot. So anyway, my point is you want to get a titer probably for measles coming up, and measles is a really good vaccine. Basically, the effectiveness of a vaccine is really dependent on the incubation time of the virus. So, a flu or SARS-CoV-2 is a really short incubation virus. It takes like 2 or 3 days to develop symptoms and to get that whole viral load, high enough that it's actually causing symptoms. But things like measles is a longer incubation time. So what it does is it basically gives your body that chance to mount a robust immune response and stop it. So it's really, really important to get vaccinated against things like the measles.
Um, we've heard from certain people in this country who, believe it or not, are not scientists, don't know anything about science, and seem to practice voodoo for all I know, that these vaccines can on occasion actually cause the virus and or contain mercury and other very hazardous chemicals that one does not want. Can you address that issue?
Yeah, so basically what happens when you get a vaccine, so a vaccine is a small part of a virus. So it can be attenuated, and that's a fancy word for they used evolution so that the virus it doesn't kill you anymore, but it's shaped enough like it. So it's kind of like a training dummy, right? It's a training dummy.
Mm-hmm.
You're an MMA fighter, and you need to go into this cage match, and you need to figure out what kind of fighter you need to train against, right? And the vaccine is a training dummy. You can get it inactivated in a couple ways: heat or evolution, or you can actually get a small part, just the part that you want, which is the mRNA. That's the idea, is that you create that training dummy within your cells at just a little bit, so that it knows, like, hey, I'm gonna beat this guy by an arm bar, so I'm just gonna generate just his arm and a chest so I can practice my arm bars or something like that, versus the live attenuated vaccines are a live virus, so it's going to be like a full training dummy, that kind of thing. But what happens is your body, in order to work out and to train against that training dummy, is going to have to, it's going to have to get a little sweaty. It's going to have to get a little sore. It's going to have to try out these moves, and it's going to, you're going to develop things called, a fever. It's going to feel like you have a fever. It's going to feel like you actually have the virus that's actually infected you, but you're not infected by a virus, and that is not an adverse side effect of the vaccine. And a lot of people say this, like, every time I get the flu shot, I get infected with the flu. It's like, no. Your body is training like it is infected by the flu, and every time that happens, I just always think
And
about, like, wow, I would
to
feel
be
so
fair,
much
it
worse.
thinks it is.
Yes,
Your
exactly.
body thinks it is, and that's kind of the point, because
Exactly.
your body will remember and say, "Oh, that was bad.
Yes.
Let's keep up our defenses in case we get attacked again."
Exactly.
Is that a good analogy? Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
So your body thinks it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why it trains the antibodies for it, right? It's training that, like, hey, when this training dummy, I'm going to remember this. I'm going to remember how this thing works. So when I interact with that guy that's the same size as the training dummy, I know exactly what to do, what moves to do on him, that kind of thing. So it is, yeah, it's important.
And
It's important to have that
and
reaction. And I always think, like, the important thing is, wow, this is a small amount of this virus. I would feel 10 times worse right now that if I actually had a viral infection. This is, I feel bad now, but just imagine if I actually had the actual virus infecting me.
Yeah, that
and
brings up the
yeah,
point that I wanted to,
let
point
me
out
real
about
quick.
viruses. Okay, go ahead.
Let me real quick. Um, Also remember, it's not just you feeling sick, because somebody may say, "Well, I get so sick for all of these things." If you don't take the if you don't take the well, I'm starting to get tired and forget words. Sorry, if you don't take the if immunization, if you don't get immunized against it,
The vaccine.
and the vaccine, thank you, and you end up going into a population of people who either can't get vaccinated or are for some other reason immunocompromised, you could end up killing other people. So it's not just about you and how it makes you feel. It's about keeping people who can't take it safe. Sorry for interrupting you, Henry.
Really.
Please continue.
Oh, I mean, that's fine. Anytime you put something in when it comes to vaccines, this point was made, I believe, I'm sure it's been made by lots of people. The person I saw was Dr. Tyson. Uh, it's like, sure, anytime you put something into your body, that it comes with associated risks. There are going to be some risks to uh, vaccines. Some have slightly higher risk profiles than others, but the whole point of vaccine is risk management, and you're trying to manage risks. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to take this small little bit of risk that I could possibly have some sort of reaction to this vaccine to minimize the massive risk of all of the effects of getting the actual disease.
Yeah,
So it's like,
exactly.
yeah,
It's
I'm taking on a small risk in this vaccine in order to prevent the much larger risk of the much more serious complications of the actual disease itself.
exactly. Yeah, the risk reward benefit isn't with me sitting in my room by myself and getting a vaccine or not. It's me going into a room, being exposed to someone with the virus, getting that virus which causes the disease, and then that disease and having the ability to kill me, and then spread that disease to other people. So what happens is we focus on the vaccine side effects because people don't live in a world where these viruses are causing rampant diseases and killing people. We forget because we aren't there, we aren't students of history enough, but basically, before antibiotics, before vaccines, 50% of kids used to die. 50%. So I have 4 kids. I'd be lucky to have 2. If I, think about that, but we
I
don't
think
live
we've
in that.
really done a
Mhm.
disservice to especially the younger generations growing up when they, got rid of the Oregon Trail, because then you understood what it was like to have so many people die of dysentery.
Exactly. No, I mean, we're talking about 30 different diseases that vaccines stymie and stop. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, and you guys, I mean, just think about the impact a single virus had on our lives, right? The pandemic, that was a big sea change moment that everyone remembers, right? Now imagine you have 20 more viruses that are staging outbreaks constantly in outbreaks. If you liked lockdowns before, guess what? Well, you're going to have lockdowns times 30 now, because and now you have, measles, you have rubella, you have, whooping cough, you got all these different things coming up, polio, all these different types of diseases coming out because people are refusing to get vaccinated. And what are you going to do? You're going to feel your freedom, your liberty, in order to go out and go to a concert, right? It's going to be stolen. You're not going to be able to go to a place with 100,000 people and feel free there. You're not going to be liberated sitting inside your house because you feel that, like, I can't go out. And it's and then you're going to be praying for a mask. You're going to be praying for a vaccine, but the vaccine isn't going to be, there's going to be too much mutation. Basically, you want to, this is what herd immunity is. Basically, you're creating a scenario where the viral population is really low, so it can't combine and it can't mutate, and you keep the amount of viral genomes out there to the minimum.
I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask anyway. Why is COVID-19 called COVID-19?
Because it came out in 2019.
Thank you. What were you going to say, Andrew?
I said, how quickly we forget about 1917.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean
So,
that was a huge one. I mean,
or polio.
there's been a lot of, like, really big pandemics, man, and 1.2 million people died from the pandemic in the United States. 1.2 million. We are ranked like 200th in the world, on it, and for deaths per capita. It's a shame that we have let so many people die, and it's really sad. I mean, unvaccinated people were 10 times more likely to die during the height of the pandemic. 300, there was a Lancet post-mortem about, how we did as a country, and we did awful. So about 300,000 people died because of vaccine hesitancy in the United States alone. 300,000 people died because of awful executive actions that Trump did specifically. So if you remember with the cruise ship, that he, remember the cruise ship off of the coast of California, Stuff like that, where he denied that it existed, denied it, and he overrode the CDC's protocol to let those people in through quarantine. The CDC was going to go in with PPE gear, we're going to test them before they come in. The DHS overrode them, came in, didn't go with any PPE, let them out in Southern California, like nothing. People were coming in. Europe was closing down, right? Europe was closing down, and people came in. Was like, oh, I need to get an early flight so I don't get trapped in Europe. We didn't do any type of quarantine or testing of any of those people coming in, and they all came back. And we can do epidemiology and track the mutations from Europe. And guess where all the COVID came from? It came from Europe, a majority of it. So we know how many people died from that and from those events and from his mismanagement. There's a couple more events that are kind of really bad, like overriding the USPS from sending out masks to everyone. That did a tangible harm, and it's just I don't know why people lost their lives because of Trump's mismanagement and vaccine misinformation.
And the degree to which the U.S. has become anti-science is staggering, and Fox News is part of that. But why we suck it up, why Americans, we seem to suck it up and just drink from the well of ignorance is, I think, worth its own show and topic.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Xander, do you have? Yeah, yeah.
Well, I
Oh,
think.
and by the way, I totally agree on Bad Science Sunday. You should have Greg on this Sunday,
Oh, cool.
8:30.
Yeah,
Absolutely have him on. I don't know who you've got. Preempt whoever you have coming on this
I'll bring bad
Sunday.
science.
uh, just have him on instead. You know, you don't have to have on any news related show people. Just just saying. All right. Anyways,
I think like
yeah.
like anti-intellectualism has a strong root in American history. The Know Nothing Party, for example. I mean, we're talking this goes back a long time. People misunderstand patriotism for personal freedom, and they don't think that public health is something that they have an individual right to. They don't an impetus in order to push and help. But I do think that what's happened and what's changed, and you can actually see this with the amount of Republicans that don't accept germ theory now. I mean, this is a big problem, like genuinely. 30% of Republicans do not agree with germ theory, and it is the polls say it's specifically Republicans and not just Democrats, because this whole thing that science is no longer trustful because of the pandemic, that's not true. Democrats still trust science. It's specifically just a Republican thing, and that it's specifically a question of are viruses more dangerous than the diseases? No, or are vaccines more are vaccines more dangerous than the diseases that viruses could pose? Which is basically saying, do viruses cause disease, right? Do viruses actually cause disease? And yes, obviously they do. But what happens is that there's these conspiracies out there that germ theory isn't real, that we've never isolated a virus before, and you'll hear this terrain. This is the terrain model of health, that people don't actually get sick
Really?
from viruses and disease, that it's an environmental thing. And this is where Maha comes in. So Maha tells you that, oh, it's actually, you're not getting sick from viruses and disease. You're getting sick because of microplastics and vaccines and food dyes and that kind of thing. So that's how this kind of whole thing wraps up now. And now people, it's more than you would think, guys. I've been telling you, and it's wild. In my TikTok chat, I specifically do not ban people for believing wrong things. And when I say this, the people are like, there's like messages of like, no way, and then this person's like, yeah, right, yeah, exactly. We've never isolated a virus, and I'm like, there it is, guys, there it is.
Here's what I'd like to do. Yeah, please.
The thing that kind of irritates me about the whole thing is because you can see some again, when I talk about RFK, and it's like, okay, there's some things I'm like, yeah, great, awesome, and then his zombie worm rears its ugly head, and I'm like, oh my god, no. like the push to get microplastics and artificial dyes and some of these chemicals and stuff out of our food, and the fact that we're eating ultra processed food. It's like, yeah, it is making people sick, but that doesn't discount the what viruses do to us. As a matter of fact, it makes things worse. It's like, stop supplanting these things. Stop trying to mash these two together to
Hmm.
eliminate one to follow your own narrative. When COVID was going on, I pointed out that, hey, we're taking a kind of a split approach when it comes to an actual pandemic. And I don't think that it's going to work out well. And obviously it didn't. I mean, we scored incredibly hard. It's like, you need to pick a way to go. You're either going to leave everything open and go along like this is just a regular flu and leave it incumbent upon individuals to decide what they're going to do, or you're going to treat this like a serious pandemic, and you're going to take the actions necessary. And weirdly enough, the person of limited federal government and federal power
Hmm.
was going, this is clearly an avenue where the federal government ought to have the power to do this, because you
Exactly.
can't expect a single state to set pandemic responses, nor should we allow a single state to do that. That is clearly in the purview of the federal government. And it's like, we tried to split the baby in the bathwater and ended up throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So, it was a terrible thing, and it just reinforced a lot of really negative propaganda that's going out there. It's like, I tried very hard to see what the actual science was saying about things, because I believe that science actually works, and that we've learned amazing things and done amazing things because of scientific breakthroughs.
Yeah.
And it irritates me when people start trying to mash these things together to come up with oh, well, it's not viruses making you sick. Why it's all of the added chemicals in vaccines, plus our diet that's making you sick. And it's like, well, I agree with part of that. The diet is making people sick and possibly more susceptible to diseases and the effects of diseases, the consequences. Uh, but viruses are a real thing that do real harm.
Yeah.
And maybe you should really look into vaccines, because many of them have done some amazing things. It's like, we don't see polio in the United States anymore. We don't generally see smallpox.
Yeah.
And now I'm actually genuinely concerned. We're having all these measles outbreaks. We're gonna okay, so when's smallpox coming back? That killed a lot of freaking people.
It's the number one killer in the 1900s. So we've eradicated one virus on Earth, and that is smallpox. So it is gone. Polio was almost eradicated, but unfortunately, it had some pockets in Africa, so it's still there. There interestingly, in the scientific community, there is a debate on whether or not one of the last inoculums of smallpox in the CDC in Georgia should be destroyed or not is like still a question. But the scientific community thinks that if we genetically modify it and use it in research, it'd probably be a better thing to use. So it's still there, and they added a green fluorescent protein to it to better study it and track it. But anyway, but I think that the real cause of this stuff, and why you've seen, and in the graph that I'm talking to about the 30% of Republicans that don't believe that viruses are real, there's a huge shift up in 2000 since 2020, and it's obviously because of the pandemic, right? But it's
Yeah.
also, we forget, like, this is the time, specifically now in the last couple of years, that AI has taken over social media feeds, and that these social
Mm.
media feeds are being tailored to people that are skeptical or conspiratorial in mind, and then now they just hammer in every single conspiracy video to you one after another. It's not just like the, before in 2015, 2016, which is like you're basically being filtered to, kind of like the internet content filter, in Facebook or something, is going to be like, do you check these dots? And then we're going to give you something that's within those dots. This different now. Okay, everyone has their own individual AI that is being tailored made to mess with you, and they're trying to see what gets you going and what actually you'll click on. And for a conspiratorial person that thinks that the lab leak is real, which is, by the way, not supported by science at all. There's not a single piece of scientific
You were
evidence.
all wait, was it is Andrew, did we have on Greg, or we
Yeah,
had on Homozygo?
yeah.
I think we had both of you guys on
Oh
for
yeah, that was
that
our
one.
big
Both of
That was
them
thing.
a
on.
banner show.
That was my
Yes,
that was
that was.
my last
Oh, that's
my
good.
last stream on the peer review was 2021, doing
Oh, that's right.
doing the SARS-CoV-2 origins. I'm trapped in a Groundhog Day doing the same thing. But yeah, it's true. Like, once you believe, like, think about it, like, once you believe that SARS-CoV-2 was made in a lab, then that means that there's scientists that are working together in order to cover something up. So that means that how easy is it for them to cover up flat Earth now, or cover up dinosaurs, or to cover up gravity? You know, they're already in concert. They're already working together now. And I'm telling you, man, I this is the joke. Um, he's doing good, Regwin. I talk to him a lot, still on DMs and stuff. So this, I call it the list, and this is the list of scientific consensus that I'm curious about, you know, whether or not you accept these things, you know, and if you're anti-vax or, you know, conspiratorial. And I mean, it's pretty boilerplate stuff. Like, is germ theory real? Do we have an immune system? Is the lab leak real? Is the moon landing fake? Is space fake? Is it a projection? Is there a flat Earth? Is there a 6,000-year-old Earth? Is gravity real? Is evolution real? Are dinosaurs real? Is climate change actually happening? Are vaccines safe and effective? And is plate tectonics real? So the question there is kind of like, one, a person that believes that that viruses aren't real, like, believes like 90% of those those conspiracies, right? They take it all in. A foundational conspiracy like that really entraps your entire ideology, and you just really can't get out of it. But it's interesting though, and I ask those questions, and this is genuinely my tact, and what I recommend for people is ask questions for people that are in your life that are like this. Ask questions, and ask about scientific consensus questions, not trying to own them, right? You're trying to understand why they believe the things that they believe. But the interesting part is, well, if they believe in one of those scientific consensus questions, why do they believe that one? Why do they believe that dinosaurs are real, but they don't believe that viruses are real? Right? Maybe they've had they loved dinosaurs as a kid, you know, something like that. And so now it's like, oh, okay, so maybe we can, you know, use why you believe, you know, dinosaurs being real, and transfer that to, you know, viruses, that kind of thing.
There's a problem with that though, and one of the problems is you can't reason somebody out of a position they didn't reason themselves into.
Yes.
And one quite quick little thing, you know, bubonic plague is absolutely still around. It exists in nature in the Southwest in rodents, and there are occasionally cases every year of
Yeah,
bubonic plague. But
Yep.
thankfully, now forgive me if I get this wrong, because it has been a long time since I've done any kind of research or any kind of, I'd say research, any kind of reading on bubonic plague. But I believe it's a bacterial infection carried by fleas, and so it's very easily treated and gotten rid of today.
so let me
Yeah.
quickly just say two things. One, the shutdown is officially over. Trump signed the bill about 8 minutes ago. So the shutdown is now officially over, and the government is officially funded to January, where we could go through all of this again, with the exception of SNAP and other things. That's another reason why the cave wasn't as big as it may have seemed, because it's only a continuing resolution. But for Veterans Affairs, SNAP, and Congress is still going to get its funding. Also, yeah, on the bubonic plague, I think we average about 7 cases a year, most of them out of New Mexico. I have no idea why, but having said that, whatever Dr. Robertson says in the live chat, I would go with. Not only is she got a PhD in biology, she's one of the smartest human beings I know. So I tend to listen to Dr. Fiona Robertson, and I'm delighted that she's here to talk on this subject, because obviously it's close to her heart. She's really extraordinarily good at it. So anyways, having said that, where were we? Oh, I did want to bring up, I had a friend who refused to wear seatbelts, and the reason she refused to wear seatbelts was because she said, well, here's the thing. Seatbelts make the accident less bad, and there are people who get paralyzed by the seatbelt, and they wouldn't have been paralyzed if they hadn't have been wearing a seatbelt. I don't want to be paralyzed because I can't think of anything worse than that, so I don't wear a seatbelt. And it's like, yeah, but the likelihood that you would be paralyzed without the seatbelt is greater than the likelihood with the seatbelt, or even that the seatbelt would cause that injury, which it can do. There are cases where seatbelts actually make the injury worse, but those number of cases are so much fewer than where they save the life and make the injury, whatever injuries you do get, significantly better.
Exactly.
It's just, yeah.
I mean, 4 million kids are saved every year from vaccines because, you know, basically they're too young to have an immune system that is functional, that can actually combat a lot of this. 1 million adults are saved every year. So we're talking about like a ton of people that have, and we're talking like specifically kids. Again, 50% of kids used to die. It's 50%. It's like crazy.
Yeah, and that
well,
was even
yeah.
higher. The farther back in time you go, the higher that percentage gets.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, in polio, we forget how bad polio was and how many kids were stuck in iron lungs, how many, and my father said, look, everybody in school was terrified. They were terrified to go to school because kids were getting it, and every school had polio patients who ended up getting paralyzed. Every school in the country, it was that prolific. And all of a sudden, the polio vaccine gets invented, and the guy who invented it decides that because he's big pharma, I guess, and because pharmacists are so big pharma only wants to make money, he's going to give it away for free, and makes the polio vaccine available for free. I listen. I've heard of people going to Wall Street to make money. Big pharma wants to make money. You know how they're going to make money? By curing cancer. Why is that going to make money for them? Aren't they going to get more money treating it? No, they're going to get more money curing it. And the reason is because you're going to live longer, and then you're going to need more cures for the new diseases that you get because you're living longer.
Yeah, living people
Big
pay
pharma,
the bills.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Living people, there's so much more money to be made in people living longer. It is utterly absurd and a complete profound lack of understanding of how the economy works to think that somebody would keep the cure for cancer secret because they could make more money treating people. No, not even close. Not even close.
If one were conspiratorial, I'm not proposing that this is real, but like genuinely, I mean, the people that would be seeding these anti-vax groups would be pharma themselves, right? Because they are, just like you're saying, I mean, it's $100 vaccine versus $40,000 a case in Oregon for, the measles outbreak that happened last time. I mean, we're talking tons of money that would be made in these hospitalizations versus just a vaccine, which isn't like a high profit margin item. Like it just isn't.
No, it's not. And actually, to tell you the truth, that's actually the scary thing. And I think I said this the last time I had both of you guys on, was what scares me is what happens when people with a penchant for conspiracy theories actually gets educated and comes up with they're like, this is how they'd really do it.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to run a sex trafficking ring in the world and wanted to get away with it, this is how they'd do it. Yeah.
Yeah, or like your oddball interests like in astronomy, uh, lead to like very real possibilities that could actually happen. It's like you have all these conspiracy theories about the end of the world, and then it's like, oh, we'll just learn about our sun, and you don't ever have to worry about a conspiracy theory ever again. So yeah, the thing that annoys me about a lot of the conspiracy theories and the spreading of it and the misinformation and the unreasonable positions that people take in, either because all of their buddies are doing it and they're a part of this crowd and they want to be in with them. I see that a lot with kind of the MAGA, much more conservative movement, where they're like, well, I didn't really think there was a problem with COVID, but now everybody's got this, the circles that I'm in, they're all, oh my God, it's causing all this myocarditis and it's causing all this and that and everything, and it's like, oh, I'm never getting that stuff in me, and then you have somebody sitting over there going, well, I didn't think it was all that bad, but now I got to fit in, so yeah, oh really, myocarditis, oh that keeps coming up all the time, and it's like, oh yeah, it's causing all these it's worse, the risks of the vaccine are far worse than the risks of actually getting COVID, even though they have zero statistical data to back that up. And the thing that infuriates me is like there was a lot of potential application of mRNA technology, and we're seeing reductions in funding in it, and
Yes.
we're seeing a kind of a public pushback or resistance to continuing that kind of research. And I really dislike shutting down areas of research because you never know what completely new area that you're going to discover in that, and the kinds of things that can come out of it. I mean, who in the hell would have ever come up with penicillin out of a damn mold? I mean, it's like we're gonna miss out on our next penicillin breakthrough because there's a public backlash against things like mRNA research, and there's some people looking into the possibility of using mRNA technologies as treatments for different kinds of cancer. And it's like, you're going to shut down all of these potential things because you have a feels that it's a bad thing. Because you certainly aren't bringing any actual data and statistics to this, because if you did, you'd find out very quickly how wrong you are. But they didn't reason themselves into that position. And that's what frustrates me about it. It's like, I may have, very strong conservative leanings when it comes to things like economic policy, monetary policy, et cetera, socially very liberal. And maybe that's what saves me, but I'm like, okay, great. Let's, cut the government in half, let it not do as many things as it is, but let's really focus on actual scientific research and let's look into this, because that's what's going to make our lives better. That's what's going to solve most of the problems that politicians aren't going to be able to solve right now, because it would be political suicide to try and do it. So they're just going to wait until it becomes a crisis, and then it's not my fault. I didn't hurt you. Well, now it's a crisis. We can respond, hey, I'm going to be the hero and save everyone. It's like, well, you could have solved this, like 30 years ago, but no, you just had to kick it down the road because nobody was willing to stand up and actually do anything about it. It's frustrating.
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating, man.
Thoughts
I
on
mean,
that?
the myocarditis rates that you were talking about. So the stats on that, it does happen. Like with the vaccine, it's a known side effect, but the myocarditis rates of COVID itself, the disease, again. So again, the comparison is the disease versus the vaccine, not that's what we're actually comparing. So it's 600% higher if you actually got infected with SARS-CoV-2 versus the vaccine. And vaccines actually help prevent the viral load from getting higher, so you actually stymie a lot of those cardiovascular events. So if you're worried about myocarditis rates, or anyone else is worried about myocarditis rates, you get the vaccine every time because it protects you. There's actually some incredible things that we're learning, to go to your point about the mRNA vaccine technology. There's a paper out last week that's actually showing that they found a really interesting thing in mice models, basically, that this mRNA, and it's RNA, and it's encompassed by lipid nanoparticles. That's like what the technology is being used. It's been used since 2015 for personalized gene therapy approaches, for cancer. So you're right, it's like anti-cancer drugs, and then they brought it out in the pandemic because you could easily change the sequence of the DNA or the RNA really easily. You can easily change the DNA that makes the RNA. But anyway, the idea is, they found in mice that these mice were living longer when they injected them with mRNA, encapsulated with lipid nanoparticles, and they were like they were living longer with cancers. So their hypothesis was that the immune system was revving up in response to the mRNA lipid nanoparticle and fighting the cancer easier. So they were like, well, if this is true, then we should be able to see it through all the cancer patients that have gotten the mRNA lipid nanoparticle vaccines from COVID, since they came out. And they did a retrospective study on seeing that, and sure enough, it's true. The humans that got the mRNA vaccines from COVID lived longer with their cancer treatments, like way longer, like so much so that they were actually had to put a cutoff because they weren't dying from the study. So we were just learning this. This is just coming out last week. So we definitely need to like study this more. Systematic reviews, meta analyses, and all that kind of stuff. But it is a really interesting thing. And to go to your point again, like this is the mRNA and lipid nanoparticle delivery is just a really good way of delivering the next generation of molecular biology tools. So again, this last week, basically they used Cas9 and CRISPR to knock out the blood pressure part of the liver, or something that basically people with high blood pressure got this treatment that was CRISPR, that targeted their liver, and they don't have to it seems like they have this prolonged ability to keep their blood pressure low so that they possibly won't have to use statins. So it's like there's just awesome, cool technology that is being enabled by this delivery. And I do want to say, with you're right that they are attacking this stuff with, and you were talking about the amount of money that was pulled from the HHS to study the mRNA and lipid nanoparticle delivery. But there are bills all throughout the country right now that are trying to ban mRNA technology altogether. So there is a bill in
Jeez.
Minnesota that is trying to label mRNA technology as a bioweapon, and they're trying to ban it.
Oh,
There's four in total. The AP did a story about this, and they found 423 anti-science legislation going through all the states, and I say anti-science as in like this isn't just anti-vaccine laws. We're talking about like anti-public health. So there's laws that are like banning epidemiology. You can't do contact tracing. You can't do quarantines. Like as someone that's sick that has the measles, they are trying to pass laws to say that you cannot say that person should quarantine. You know, it's and of course they're attacking, making it against the law to administer mRNA vaccines, making it a crime. You could lose your license, your medical license, if you give a vaccine during a
Jesus.
pandemic. So that's actually what. So anyway, this happened like 2.5 weeks ago, and I read this AP article and I was just like aghast. Like this is like what is happening? And I kind of like changed the direction of my stream a little bit to so we are basically organizing to try to stop this from happening. So we are I have like 9 of these bills that we're targeting, and I make email and phone call templates for people, and then they make these actions and they do their calls, they do their emails, and then they come onto my stream and they say, oh, I did an email or something, and then we track them. So this is what the political actions right here. So we've done 432 emails and calls in the last 3 weeks. So if you go to action.drgregshow.com, that you can like see it. It's just a Google spreadsheet, but a Google Doc explaining like what's going on, and then we identified key people in the state legislature to call and contact, and people have been doing it, man. It's been awesome. But check your state, guys. Genuinely check your state, see what's going on. If you want, I paid I paid to have access to this website that kind of like gives me all the things. We can look at your state, and you can contact. Everyone needs to be contacting their state legislators to make sure that this stuff dies in these, because they're early, right? A lot of them are early in the stage. They're still in committee. They haven't passed the lower house, but now is the time, right? Now is the time that you push pressure on the Democrats to hold strong. Do not vote no for sure. And then these swing voters that are usually like Republicans or something that have been physicians. They're the chair of the House Health Committee, and you're going to say yes to this thing that makes it a crime to administer an mRNA vaccine? Like, no way, man. So anyway, yeah, that's what we're doing.
Well, let me quickly. I think we should get that on the Discord. We've also got Greg's link tree. We've been taking that out, as well as his TikTok channel. He is a friend of the show. He's been on repeatedly. He is a good guy, as you can tell, and he knows what he's talking about, as you can tell as well. And us being an educational program, that kind of agenda is something we very much support. So I hope those of you listening will look at the education, in my view, is the silver bullet. That's why I have an educational program, and I think Greg very much, you can see he's nodding, agrees. And so I hope you will go check out his channel, see what he's doing, and we're going to have you back just to discuss the anti-science in this country and where that's going, because I think that's an interesting topic that we've talked about but never actually had. We also had, and I want to do this because I think this may be just to correct some information that was out there. So we had a question: strange that Pfizer would do the official trials right off, like who is really that stupid? Has to be an act. Your thoughts on that?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question. About the trials, the original trials that happened?
I think so, yes.
Okay, yeah. So what happened is they went through all 4 of the trials. They didn't go. they weren't abbreviated trials. They went through the entire thing. It's just the fact that Project Warp Speed what happened so that the trials overlapped. So you can look up like BioNTech, Pfizer, stage one, stage two, stage three, stage four, and they published all the data. You don't have to listen to me. And the stage two specifically of the Moderna vaccine, I mean, we're talking one of the most the highest efficacy vaccines that we've ever done. I mean, it is a 94.1% efficacy when most flu vaccines is around 60 to 70%. So these are some of the best vaccines that we've ever done, and it's a patriotic thing, man. These are American ingenuity, American technology. Like this is the point that we can like come together and be proud of. Like that we did this. Like this is something that we provided for the world. This is a good benefit. This is a quality of life thing.
Except for China, we didn't give it to China. So if you're mad at China too, you can be a patriot. Take these vaccines, and China doesn't have them. China has their own, which is only at about 60% effective. Last I checked.
Yeah,
and Russia.
Too.
So
yeah.
Anyways, apologies for interrupting, but when you said patriotic thing, I was like, it's true.
Yeah.
It's not a joke.
Yeah, guys. And if you're a capitalist, I mean, these are, ways that, the American companies and ingenuity, they're all fighting each other, right? So like, in regards to secret things that could be in it, there's a lot of conspiracies about, graphene oxide or something found in the Moderna vaccines. Like who would be the biggest person or the biggest entity that would want to blow that up, right? It would be Pfizer. Pfizer has all the technology and they're checking, dude. They're checking Moderna's vaccine to see if it is what it is, right? And that is such an easy thing to test. That'd be a spectrophotometer, with 10 seconds. An undergrad could do that. It's so obvious. So that is a big thing about the vaccine, and it started. I'm not anti-vax. I'm just anti-this vax, right? And that's what everyone said. Or it's the emergency
I'm
use.
just asking questions.
Yeah, it's the emergency use authorization. That's the thing. And once the FDA approves it, then I'll be okay with it. FDA approval comes. Are they taking it? No. So it's people they feign as a skeptic, which is fine. Skepticism's fine. I totally respect skepticism, and I will talk to someone. That's the whole point of my channel, right? That's the whole, me as a science communicator, I love answering good faith questions. I will talk to someone for 2 hours, to chagrin of my entire chat, and they hate me for it. But I like, because it's important. It's important, and it's really important. And but what's happening is that it's not skepticism; it's contrarianism, right? They don't care what the data is. They don't care what's actually happening, and now they just no, I don't agree with science at all. That's wrong. I want all natural, man. I don't want anything, no chemicals in my body. And it's like it's just it's exhausting, guys. I think that we have honestly we've coddled anti-vax people for too long, and we have to tell them that this is not okay. You're harming people. This is a danger, and it's not okay. People are lying to you. I'm not going to lie to you, and it's not okay to harm other people.
Yeah, people, it's like, oh, I want to go natural. We got to eliminate these forgetting that, the only reason that there's 8 billion people on Earth and we aren't in a famine, as was predicted back in the late 70s, is because of chemicals. It's like, I don't know about you, but I think it's kind of nice that, we have produce enough food to actually feed the people that we feed. And there's still some areas that need help. But it's like the only reason we've gotten to the point that we are today is because of, chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
It's like again, it comes back to the whole risk analysis. What is the risk of having and using some of these chemicals? And granted, some of them I think probably do go over the line, and we should probably ban some of them. But it's like we should probably do some risk analysis and actual get evidence to back up what we decide. Because chemicals aren't all bad, and the risk of that they may the chemicals are allowing life to go so far that the chemicals can actually become a problem. It's like, well, without them, you wouldn't have made it to this age to have any of these problems anyway. So maybe we should be at least a little bit thankful that we've had the kind of ingenuity and breakthroughs that we have had that allows you to have this life where you can sit back and say, but my feels, and not look at any evidence and say it's all bad. We need to ban all this stuff.
Oh,
and it's
hey,
like, stop reasoning, or don't bother to reason yourself into these positions, and defend them against all reason.
I love the one who's eating a banana or an apple or bread and says, I don't eat GMOs. I would never eat a GM. It's like, do you realize how many GMOs? It's just a different method. That's what we're talking
Yeah.
about. It's a
We
GMO.
have been genetically
Apples
we've been
don't.
genetically
Yeah.
modifying organisms since the inception of agriculture.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly, Sandra. And that's exactly right. I mean, and so I do molecular biology. As a scientist, that's kind of like what my trade is. And basically I genetically modify organisms for a living. I go through
I'm
and
still waiting for my sorry to suddenly jump in and cut you off. I'm still waiting for my algae diesel.
yes,
Algae diesel.
exactly.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. I mean, you know what, dude? Guess what? The Inflation Reduction Act got $10 billion for algae research, dude. And so it was actually going, and that was part of the $400 billion that got rated for Elon Musk and Bezos and stuff. So
Oh.
um, yeah, it is the saddest thing that
Oh well, I can understand.
we are on that track, man. We actually had that infrastructure. We are on that renewable and sustainable energy production track, and our future got ripped from us. It got stolen from us, and they stopped uh, renewable energy programs that were 90% done, that we had spent billions of dollars
Oh.
into, and they just stopped them. Wind farms all across the United States, solar arrays stopped. Why? Because it's just an ideological thing that they have. And guess what now? Guess what's the big thing? Energy prices going up all throughout the country because of these data centers. So, man, if only we had $400 billion for, to build out our infrastructure and our grid and our energy production. And it's beyond asinine, like what happened. I mean, narrow-sighted, every word, every superlative.
I did want you to finish that thought, and then I'm going to start wrapping up you were saying, so you,
Mhm.
microbiology, and I think you were going to get, and then as Andrew, because I too want the algae diesel, and I'm a little upset.
Yeah.
But,
I,
um,
I mean, I think the big point, to take away is like,
yeah.
you can't be an expert in everything. That is the biggest thing. As a content creator, as someone online, as a everyone has access to social media now. You know what I mean? And everyone is forced to have a take and feign expertise on something that you don't know a lot about. And that's okay to say, I don't know, I don't understand what's going on. I don't, that's totally fine. To be honest with you, I have a PhD in microbiology. It's hard for me to say I'm an expert in microbiology because there's so much stuff I don't know. You know what I mean? Like the amount of people that are just lying on the internet, and just to have a take, just to have an opinion, and people listen to those people. They listen to it, and it's just, you can't be an expert in everything. You have to trust not experts, not individuals. Don't even believe me. Genuinely, I don't want people to just believe me as a scientist. I would love for you to read the papers, right? In regards to lab leak, like Picard, Warraby 2022, 2024, Picard, Chris Christoph 2024. These are amazing papers that are, those are the pinnacles of science and peer review and our reproducibility. And, look to that, look to that institution of science, not to me personally, right? I mean, that's the idea, is that we don't have these gurus that are leading us through this thing. It's that we have a process and an institution that we have built up over time in order to create institutional knowledge, so that we can fall back on that and be like, man, it's so nice that I don't have to learn population genetics to understand whether or not there was a natural zoonotic spillover event in Wuhan. It's like so nice. People that have dedicated their lives to population genetics got it. They've got that on wrap.
That's the
Well,
true underlying strength of science, though. Is it's not about individuals at all. It's about, you know, what all of these individuals are doing and all of the people double checking that. It's one of the reasons why I have so much confidence in science, the entire process of it. It's like, no, you're not relying on single individuals and say, take my word for it. That's why it's not an oligarchy.
it's a
Exactly.
method. It's
Exactly.
a methodology. Had Einstein not discovered what he discovered, somebody else would have. So even though he gets so much credit, the reality is these things are waiting to be discovered. That's what the scientific method does. It does make a few assumptions. One of them is that there are laws and that they can be discovered by testing and observation. And when you do that, guess what happens? We discover these laws. And if it wasn't us who discovered them, somebody else would have. And sometimes they get discovered at roughly the same time by different people. Not electricity, was was it the telephone? No, who stole the light bulb? I don't remember. At any rate,
Edison and
and
Nikola Tesla were going at it.
yep, yep. And it was to discover how things work and what is true. And it's always subject to further refinement, but it's as close to any truth as we seem to ever be able to get. And it allowed us to take a human being living in Texas, put him on the moon, which happens to be spinning as we spin, and it's in orbit around us as we're going around a planet. And he got out, walked, did a little jig, got on his spacecraft, came back, and landed in Texas. That's science. I'm rather impressed by that. I can't do that. Greg here can't do that, but we didn't have to. That's it's the most successful endeavor in human history and has accomplished more in the last 400 years than all human beings did in the 100,000 years before that. I'll take it. It's not guaranteed, but nothing in life is. It's good. It's very good. All right, final thoughts, is Andrew, before we go. Yes.
My final thought is I only have to take exception with one thing that you said, and that's that none of us can. Yeah, is that everything else? I love it. Thanks for coming on. It's awesome to have you on. It's always enlightening every day. It's like I get to learn something new. And but the only exception I have is when you said that none of us can be experts at anything, and I have to disagree, because of course I am obviously an expert on everything. It's the only reason that Nick actually, hired me and pays my, six-figure salary to appear on this show. But other than that, awesome. Thanks for coming.
And nobody, let's all remember that, and that's how it goes. Please, nobody call Bellevue or any other related organization. Everything's fine. He keeps coming so long as I pay those checks, which are in the mail every appropriate period.
Nice.
So
I think it's the same schedule that Pfizer pays me, so that works out really well. So,
good.
Dude, oh my God, the amount of Pfizer shills and stuff that I get, so, but yeah, guys, if you get vaccinated, basically come into my live and TikTok, and we can add you to the vaccine tracker. So that's what we do. We celebrate. This is something that Homozygote started doing, and I think it's such a cool thing. And basically, we celebrate people who get vaccinated. You contribute to public health. We appreciate you. We love you. So we're up to 1,101 vaccines in a little over 2 months. So it's been awesome. Any type of get your COVID booster, get your flu booster this year, and your family too. Get your family vaccinated, because vaccines cause adults, so it's a good thing to get your get it.
As you can all tell, Dr. Greg is a marvelous guest. He's been on many times before. Not enough. We're going to have him back again. I do want to remember and do the science denialism, but his channel is in the description. We've dropped it, and if you go look at some of his past shows, including what he does and his work in the biodiesel, we were making fun of that, but for
I'm not making fun of it at all.
No,
I'm just referencing it because I really do want my want my algae diesel.
I remember that. I remember Xandring. I'm with you, man. Yeah, it's on that's on my old channel, the Pure.review. That's like my old. I did remake things for like my new new go at it. But yeah, I kind of stopped. I stopped doing the science communication in like late 2021, early 2022. It was just like getting too much with finishing my PhD and then moving. And honestly, what brought me back into it this last year was everything that was happening with Trump and the attack on science as an institution. And I'm not a I'm not a good like speaker, or like the content that I can make, is this basically, you know what I mean? I'm not a good um I don't know. I felt like I needed to do something as a scientist and try to communicate what was actually happening. So I dusted off the microphone and started doing this all back in like August. So I just booted back up, and it's been really fun. It's been really cool. I spent a lot of my time. Basically, it's kind of like a call-in show. People call in with talk about
Cool.
mental health. We talk about the vaccines. I'm not a physician, so I can't give medical advice. I don't never do that. But um, yeah, it's just like we talk about news. We talk about things that are happening. Politics. I mean, science is political, guys. We have to use public funds in order to fund science. But so we talk about science and politics and everything in between. But and how science has become ideological, which is I think the word that people are trying to use, and we go everywhere with it. So, yeah, thank you
Well,
for having me on.
in reference to, worried about that you're not particularly great with the words, all the words, the best words. Uh, that there's a glaring example of how bad you can be with words and still grab a bunch of attention. I think that you do a wonderful job. We love having you on.
Thanks,
I
man.
have watched many of your shows on your channels, and I have enjoyed them. I don't believe that you're bad at this. I do think that you
Thank
actually
you.
are pretty decent at it.
Thank you, man.
And even if you weren't, we need more
Yes, sir.
scientists. We need more science, and we need more scientists getting out there, because right now, especially around the subject of science, it's pundits that are and talking heads, and it's echo chambers, and
Hmm.
it's people that uh, are just vomiting their feels about something that they know nothing about and have no evidence to back up, no numbers to back up. Those are the people that are getting the loudest voice at this
Yeah.
moment about science. It's like I'm very much a free market, capitalist, uh, and even I'm sitting here going, there's not a whole lot of value to a market to start scientific endeavors.
Hmm. Yeah, it's tough, man,
To
because
start
the
scientific
capital
endeavors.
expenditure is going down because of the uncertainty, and
Yep.
that's
Yeah,
actually why
exactly. And
that
we need governments in order to fund this stuff.
exactly.
Capitalists weren't going to go to the moon. And because there's no value in that. What market value is that? Yeah, all of the technology that came out of that and all of the problem solving that had to go into that. It's like if there hadn't been some sort of public uh, investment into that, we wouldn't have many products that ended up having very good market value out of that thing. So,
100%.
science is one of the things that's actually going to save the human race. It's going to be able to save the planet, so that maybe, hopefully, we can actually find out if there is more complex, intelligent life in the cosmos. So, which I am burning up inside, wanting to know the answer to that.
That'd be nice.
I
Yeah,
believe there's plenty of life out there,
for
but I
sure.
want to know if there's more life like us that we could communicate with
Well,
and
I'd
understand
like to
and
find
exchange with.
intelligent. I'd like to find intelligent life on this planet first, and then we can start looking
That's
for
a
it on
mining
others. But
expedition. I don't know, maybe at the center of
okay.
there. Yeah.
So yeah, I appreciate what you do. Thanks
Thanks,
for
man.
doing it. Please keep doing it,
Thank you.
because even if you do it badly, it needs to be done, because nobody else is doing, or very few other people are doing it.
Thank you, man. I
We need
appreciate
to
you
we
saying
need to
that.
drown out all of those echo chambers and talking heads that are
Yeah,
just spewing a bunch of
I
crap.
don't, I'm a like a I'm a masochist or something. I don't know. I like actually really like those conversations where those people they're super anti-vax and stuff like that, and it's a really interesting way of understanding how people believe what they believe, and most people don't know scientists in their life, so it's kind of like a unique opportunity for them, and it's a fun conversation for me, and that's just kind of I don't know. TikTok is really cool in that you basically have voice chat built into the app, and just these people can just request and join instantly. And
Interesting.
that's actually my favorite part of doing science communication is talking to other people, like doing stuff like this. Like genuinely, I love it. It's making the canned like 60-second science explainer stuff. That's not me. I don't like that. My goal in my communication is to bring up the discourse and educate, right? Like you're saying, Nick, and the I'll use jargon, but hopefully explain it to you while you're learning, so that you can spot it in the future, kind of thing. And yeah, TikTok has really allowed that to happen. Really, really cool, and it's been a really amazing experience, and it's going well. We're fun. I'm actually creating a 501c4, out of this whole
Really?
thing. Yeah, yeah. I'm doing it. I'm doing it real, man. We're basically doing this MAVA,
Not
Make
Mavo.
America MakeAmericaVaccinated.org. We're making a 501c4, so we're gonna try to,
Could you do that one more time, please?
yeah, well, it's here too. Yeah, Make
Or just
America
there we
Vaccinated.
go. There we go.
There you go.
Well,
So
yeah, keep going with that, because one of
yeah.
the things I want you to keep in mind and remember, because remember, I'm an expert on everything.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
is that having conversations like this, and even if you're talking to somebody who is a complete whack job and has not reasoned themselves into a position that you're trying to reason them out of,
Mhm.
it's not always for, it's not for me, although I've
Yeah.
learned a lot of things and appreciate it. It's not for Nick, because Nick just doesn't know anything and probably never will. So, but all of the people who are watching this anonymously, who are able to actually question things because they're not going to get shut down by their friends, they can
Exactly.
actually start forming opinions, and even if they won't admit them out loud, they'll get in their mind that, hey, maybe science isn't bad, maybe I should listen to some of these things, some of this stuff makes sense, oh, they've got some points there, maybe I should
Hmm.
look into this, or maybe not, and just believe you. uh, you know and they can never admit that to their friends group, but inside of their own head they're thinking this through, and that tends
Yeah.
to not let them support other things, like when they go into the ballot box to make votes for other things, they may make a different choice then. So there's a lot of other people that, because of the anonymity of being able to just watch the conversations and maybe possibly learn something, that can actually change lives.
100%, dude. The biggest thing is that, like, a lot of these questions are valid. But the problem is that the people don't have that avenue to kind of like reach out and have that conversation. And I totally agree. It's a lot of people. It is a why did we use mRNA technology? Or how dangerous was COVID-19? Or how many people did die? Like,
Or
these are all,
even, what is mRNA technology?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
most
exactly,
of the people who are decrying it have no idea what it is. It's,
exactly,
ooh,
man,
evil, bad thing. It messes with
exactly.
your genetics.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so I think that's the big thing, like destigmatizing it. And people think that I'm AI, which is wild. I actually have someone that legitimately thought I was an AI person. It's weird, man.
I mean,
It
you
is
are
wild.
way too good looking to be an actual
Stop.
Oh, here we
scientist.
go
Oh
again.
man.
So,
No,
of
no.
course, you've got to be AI.
Yeah.
But but yeah, man, it's been a really cool experience. But yeah, we're doing the 501c4. We're trying to stop the 423 bills. We're like, and yeah, so that's I got merch dropping like this week actually. So, sorry to plug it, but yeah,
No,
yeah.
absolutely. Don't hesitate.
So yeah, it's on my
Just
TikTok shop. It's on my it's actually linked on my link tree that Titan is in the chat with. It's 15% cheaper on there. So I got mugs, hoodies, shirts, leggings, everything like that. So it's been really cool. It's been a really fun experience, and I I want to go on like a lot more of the adversarial right wing podcast sphere. That's my goal. I'm
oh,
trying to break into that. I'm trying to get like some,
I'd watch that.
yeah,
I'd
yeah,
watch the hell
exactly,
out of that.
the long form stuff. And because I feel like that's just like the most fun for me, and to give people an opportunity to ask those like legitimate questions that I feel like. And you know I I I'm just, if you're feeling down and you're feeling like science, or you're feeling frustrated with the world, just, I'm telling you, try to make an impact the way that you can, and start local. Like, local is the thing to do. And all of our news is national, all of our frustrations are national, and that's where you can kind of have the least amount of impact. So yeah, check it out. Check out your
oh,
local races.
let me interrupt real quick. No
Hmm.
Titan, bad Titan, bad Titan. No, no, no biscuit. Um,
Yeah.
do not go on the raging tomato. Don't. Under any set of circumstances.
What is that?
All right. Well, I will actually I will be I will be on Bad Science Sunday at, I think it's 8:30.
Okay.
I don't know why it's 8:30, but it's 8:30. We also have downtime tomorrow, 9 p.m. We are unsure if we will be able to make that schedule. We'll let people know on the Discord, so go sign up on our Discord. Please like and subscribe. Please check out, we have been dropping links to Greg's stuff, and you're going to be seeing a lot more of them now that he's back. We're gonna
Nice.
have him on for. We're definitely gonna bring you back. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, Xandering, as always. The check is in the mail as always, and I may call you for tomorrow night. We'll see. Oh,